Good evening, everybody. Namaskar. Under the banner of Envisioning Tomorrow, this TEDx show, and a chance to meet the youngsters, the next generation today, I feel myself fortunate and privileged. I did my engineering way back in 1991, and in the course of my engineering, I always wanted to be a UPSC officer, that is an IAS officer clearing my public services. But you might have heard the name of Pramukh Swami Maharaj, and he asked me to become a saint. So after finishing my engineering in 1991, I took Diksha during the inauguration of Akshardham at Gandhinagar. And that was because of one single reason, that I saw the personal life of Pramukh Swami Maharaj from very close quarters. The purity of his personal life, his selfless zeal for society, his profound devotion towards God. Basically, the topic which I want to talk about and enlighten for this Envisioning Tomorrow theme is a lifestyle that I have designed with the experiences of all my readings, all my travels, of all my interactions with people. I have read more than about 400 biographies and autobiographies in my life, from Nelson Mandela to Abraham Lincoln to Mahatma Gandhi to Sachin Tendulkar to Winston Churchill, everybody. I have interacted personally with more than 500 national and international speakers and personalities, traveling more than 20 countries and more than 50 cities in those countries. I've been a speaker in more than 1,000 national and international seminars across the globe. And perhaps you'll be surprised to know that I've personally visited more than 25,000 homes and families in more than 20 countries of the world and sat with those families personally. In traveling across more than 20 countries and more than 50 cities of those countries, I've personally sat for an hour at least with 25,000 families across caste, creed, color, nationality. So I want to share my experience of my reading, my travel, my interactions with people, and by that, for a better tomorrow of the society, I've designed a lifestyle that could suit everybody of all ages. And that could not just be beneficial in all walks of life, but could lift you in all walks of life. For all that, I personally went deep into the life and works of Pramukh Swami Maharaj because I felt that he achieved everything in life. Of all the 400 biographies and autobiographies that I've read, I went deep into the life of Pramukh Swami Maharaj, and I personally read and understood more than 2,000 incidents of his life. He has not only built 13,000 temples all over the world, he has built more than 100 hospitals, schools, hostels, and colleges. He has initiated more than 1,200 saints like us, and out of them, more than 750 of them are graduates, postgraduates, chartered accountants, doctors, and engineers. Out of those 750, more than 150 of them are born American and British citizens. About more than 50 of them are Harvard, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, Yale graduates. He traveled to more than 18,000 villages in 60 countries. He personally read and answered more than 7.5 lakh letters that people used to write to him for their personal, family, or professional issues. He personally met more than 3.5 lakh families visiting their homes. So I went deep into his life, and I could match the readings that, the travels that, and the interactions that I did in my life, along with the experiences of Pramukh Swami's life, and I came to a conclusion, and I designed a lifestyle which I normally teach and preach in my seminars and conferences. And that is, I teach 8+8+8 system. Envisioning tomorrow, you need a good lifestyle. And a good lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle, a nurtured lifestyle, a well-thought lifestyle, a satisfied lifestyle by each and every citizen upon this earth is a perfect tomorrow for everybody. So of the 24 hours that you have, it should be well distributed into 8 plus 8 plus 8 system. First 8 hours is your honest, ethical hard work in whichever profession you are. Second 8 hours is a good sleep and rest. And third 8 hours are very important. If you can live it well, you win your life. And if you don't live it well, there is a possibility that you lose your life. In that third 8 hours, out of my experiences, I have designed that the third 8 hours of the day should be well distributed into 3F, 3H, and 3S. 3F is your family, friends, faith. 3H is your health, hygiene, and hobby. And 3S is your soul, service, and smile. If you can well distribute the third 8 hours, of course into fragments, into these 9 departments, it is a perfect, well-balanced lifestyle. And you will not invite any complaints from any quarters of your life. Be it your house, be it your office, be it your friend circle, everywhere from all the quarters. On the contrary, you will receive appreciations. So this 8 plus 8 plus 8 system I have designed. Again, to repeat the last 8 hours, 3F is your family, friends, and faith. 3H is your health, hygiene, and hobby. And 3S is your soul, service, and smile. If you can well distribute the third 8 hours of the day, of course into fragments, into these 9 departments, it is a life well lived. You will save yourself from many physical diseases. You will save yourself from many types of mental illnesses, and you will enjoy a good emotional stability in life. With the design of this principle, I've met many people, I have read many things, wrote many things about it. And this is a fact of life. This I'm sharing is the essence of more than 400 biographies and autobiographies of these great personalities. In short, it's a success mantra. At any stage in life, in any field of your life, or at any times of your life. And for that, for visioning a better tomorrow, our Guru Pramukh Swami Maharaj, the creator of Akshardham, many of you might have visited. Just raise your hands. You have been to Akshardham at Delhi or Gandhinagar, like most of you. From his readings and his travels and his interactions with people, because he met more than 20 million people personally, for a better tomorrow, for every citizen, for every existence upon this earth, he devised the concept, which is according to this 8 plus 8 plus 8 system. And that concept is, we call it in our organization, the Gar Sabha, where all the family members, they come together at least twice in a week. You come together every day, perhaps for your TV shows, perhaps for your dinner, it's fine. But you must always put forward in this particular aspect of life that twice a week you come together for spiritual sessions. A 20-minute spiritual session in all the families, and we can envision a peaceful tomorrow. How I say? I'll give you the scientific and the logical proof to it. Recently, the University of Miami and an organization called Child Trends, the CEO of which is Mr. Philip Fletcher, they had a joint survey in more than 110 countries of the world across 5 continents, spanning over 8 years, and they personally, the volunteers interacted with more than about 100,000 families. And the principal question of this survey was, that what is the difference between two families, one family doing some religious rites and rituals every day for a few minutes or at least twice a week, and those families who are perhaps non-believers and they don't do any of this religious activities in the house. After 8 years of survey in more than 100,000 families across caste, creed, color, religion, nationality, the final conclusion report says that the faithful families has n number of advantages over atheist families. And those families who conduct religious rites and rituals every day, the first point they found out in this survey was that the level of acceptance among the family members of believer family and performing family were found to be much better than the level of acceptance among non-believer families. Isn't this a big advantage? Yes or no? Yes. The second aspect they put forward, the research, that the level of tolerance among the believer family members was found to be much better than the level of tolerance among the members of the non-believer family. Isn't this a big advantage? Yes. Yes or no? Yes. It was by practical survey that the level of acceptance among family members and social circles amongst each other, for each other, and the level of tolerance amongst each other and for each other were found to be much better by religion or spiritually inclined minds. Such more than 50,000 research papers have been published in national and international seminars where not men of philosophy but men of science, they have proved by their research, experiments or surveys that how different aspects of religiosity and spirituality makes your life better and definitely gives you a better tomorrow. More than 50,000. I have copies of more than about 5,000 of them. So now it is an increasing fact, a proved fact. Nobody can deny it. That this 8+8+8 lifestyle, with the inclusion of spirituality, of course one of the F is faith, it helps you so much in life. So for envisioning a better tomorrow, for a peaceful tomorrow, if I ask you a very simple question today, how many of you want a crime-free world? All of you. Just raise your hands if you say yes. How many of you want a crime-free world? All of us. Recently, the founder director of FBI, Edgar Hoover, who was for 40 years at this post, he retired in his farewell ceremony. Who's who of US were present. And he was asked, and he became a big emotional, spoke for 3 minutes, but it was a wonderful speech. He said, in my experience of 40 years of dealing with crime, and in those 40 years, last 15 years, I dealt with child and teenage crime. He designed rehab programs and rehab centers for those. So well-experienced person when it comes to dealing with crime or curbing crime. He said that after my 40 years of experience, I've come to a conclusion, and then he asked the audience, how many of you want a crime-free world? And everybody raised their hands. And he said that I've come to a conclusion that a child who has been taught to obey the laws of God will find very little difficulty in obeying the laws of man, and he becomes a better citizen of tomorrow. That is envisioning tomorrow. So their faith element becomes the mother and gives birth to many values and virtues in your life. From tolerance to acceptance to agreeing to compromise to adjustments, many values that we need today. Because the biggest problem in the world today is lesser tolerance and lesser acceptance, isn't it? You know the defense budget of the world is $1,500 billion. Today morning I was talking to an August audience at a club event in Kandivali, Mumbai. And my subject was towards better living. I told them that if the level of tolerances and level of acceptance increases, and that has been proved fact by the University of Miami, University of Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania, that a spiritual bend of life gives you these values in life. Imagine if the level of acceptance and tolerance among people increases, among nations, it betters, then you can put a good big cut on this $1,500 billion annual defense budget of the world. We need the Army, Navy, and the Air Force to tackle terrorism, to tackle some unrest, or to help people during calamities. But at the same time, if we have better levels of acceptance and tolerance, we can at least stop new R&D of arms. We can at least stop new production of arms. And that means a 50% budget cut. That is $750 billion a year. And if this continues for the next 4 or 5 decades, $750 billion if it is pumped, withdrawn from the defense industry and pumped for infrastructure, for social betterness, for health, for education. In the next 50 years, home, clothing, food, Medicare, and education would be absolutely free upon this earth for every citizen. We have enough resources to make all this 5 free. But those resources to be brought to the optimum and maximum use for the betterment of society and individuals, you have to increase your levels of tolerance and acceptance. To increase that levels of tolerance and acceptance, more than 50,000 research papers by men of science, they say that spirituality is the only way. Because many times jokingly I say that those people who go into the peace summit in the United Nations, before entering the meeting hall, their last phone call is an arms deal. It is happening, and it happens. And more wars are fought after the installation of the United Nations at the end of the Second World War in 1945, in the last 70 years, than in the 200 years before that. So in one way, United Nations has failed, because more wars have been fought in 70 years after it than in the 200 years before that. That Youthant said in 1960, the Secretary General, that the plane of United Nations is flying at a big altitude, high altitude, at a very high speed, but it doesn't have the direction in which it's going. So our peace talks, or our engagements, or our bilateral talks, if it doesn't have the spiritual band of mind and spiritual band of activity, and again I repeat, it has been proved by more than 50,000 research papers, by world-class universities, only then we can envision a peaceful tomorrow. Because these bombs and missiles are not made by uneducated people. They are made by some of the finest science graduates from some of the finest universities in the world. Do you agree with me or not? Yes. Then where you taught or made double PhD in your physics, chemistry, or biology to produce chemical weapons and biological weapons from world-class universities? And these top-class scientists are working 18 hours a day to produce weapons that can wipe out human population. That means in some aspect education has failed in envisioning a peaceful tomorrow. Why? They didn't have the touch of spirituality. These scientists had the best scientific minds, but the worst animal minds together as well. So though they don't get the thoughts that being a good scientist, I must use my knowledge, my experience to create some betterment for the society. So a spiritual touch, a spiritual band of life is very much necessary. And lastly, I give you an experiment. एक सिंपल एक्सपेरिमेंट मैं आपको देता हूं. आपको श्रद्धा हो ना हो, आपको अच्छा लगे ना लगे, लेकिन थोड़ा एक प्रयत्न करना कि भगवान का नाम स्मरण आप 10 मिनट करना, जो भी भगवान में आप श्रद्धा रखते हो. Like you, I am also a man of science. But 25 years of my life and another 25 man of spirituality. So I have a combination of both. It is scientifically proved. मैं एक आखिरी बात करके मेरी बात पूरी करता हूं. अभी यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ फिलाडेल्फिया और पेंसिल्वेनिया में डॉक्टर H.G. कोइंग और डॉक्टर एंड्रयू न्यूबर्न ने एक प्रयोग किया. They called about 1,000 people in different age groups, made 4 age groups of 1,000 each, and asked them to chant the holy name of God in whichever form of God they believed, sitting in an Indian posture. You can read this on the University of Philadelphia and University of Pennsylvania websites. और प्रयोग ये किया, and before the start of the experiment, their mind mapping and MRIs were done by special psychoneuro softwares. हर एक ग्लैंड्स के हार्मोन्स की सिक्रीशन अनेक प्रकार के विचार और एक्टिविटी में किस प्रकार के होते हैं, that was mapped out. And then the experiment was done 2, 3, 4 times. Then they were asked to go back home and repeat the experiment for 8 weeks every day and come back after 8 weeks. They came back. They did faithfully because they were part of the subject. They are made to sit again in the Indian posture. 4 age groups. First age group was 4 to 12 kids. Second was 12 to 22 teenagers and youngsters. Third was 22 to 60 working people, and fourth was 60 to 80, the retired or the old age people. Then again, their psychoneuro software mind mapping and MRIs were done by this software. And the conclusion report you can read on their website. Those children who chanted the holy name for 8 weeks every day for 10 minutes, they had 15 to 23% increase in their memory power. Scientifically proven है. मैं सिर्फ अंधश्रद्धा की बात नहीं करता हूं. हमारे शास्त्रों में तो श्रीमद् भगवत गीता में, महाभारत में ये सब बातें लिखी हैं. लेकिन हम मॉडर्न हैं, एजुकेटेड हैं, फॉरवर्ड अपने आप को बोलते हैं, दिखाते हैं. इसलिए टू बिलीव इन द स्क्रिप्चर्स एंड टू टॉक समथिंग फ्रॉम इट एंड वो जरा ठीक नहीं लगता है. लेकिन ये बात सही. द सेकेंड एज ग्रुप्स 12 to 22, 12 to 22 को ये लाभ मिला कि उनका 15% विल पावर एंड कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल बढ़ गया. तीसरा जो एज ग्रुप था 22 to 60, उनको ये एडवांटेज मिला. दे आर 9 to 15% राइज इन देयर बफर कैपेसिटी, दैट इज कैपेसिटी टू एब्जॉर्ब शॉक्स ऑफ लाइफ. और जो लास्ट एज ग्रुप था 60 to 80, उनको ये एडवांटेज मिला. दे हैड मोर देन 15% राइज इन देयर स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ इम्यून सिस्टम, रोग प्रतिकारक शक्ति में. तो भगवान के नाम स्मरण से ये लाभ साइकोन्यूरो सॉफ्टवेयर से दे आर प्रूव्ड बाय टॉप नॉच यूनिवर्सिटीज. सो ये अंधश्रद्धा की बात नहीं है, सही है. तो इन शॉर्ट, दिस इज 8+8+8 लाइफस्टाइल, एंड इफ यू कैन वेल लिव विद इन दैट लाइफस्टाइल with a touch of spirituality, you can envision a very peaceful tomorrow for us and for the next generation, and that is perhaps the biggest gift that you can give to the next generation. Thank you very much.